Well, the competition for critical materials vital to modern technology is intensifying, prompting nations to vie for control over their supply. And these resources are finite, and the reserves and production are dominated by only a handful of countries. Breaking such interdependencies is set to prove challenging, despite increasing policy initiatives from various governments. Observers estimate that the competition for global resources is poised to become even more complex and heated amid escalating geopolitical tensions between superpowers. And for more on this exciting discussion, we have Charles Chang, Greater China Country Lead, Corporate's S&P Global Ratings, and also joining us for this discussion, CNA correspondent San Sihui, as well as Victoria Jen in Taiwan. Well, a big picture question first to you, Charles. Let's talk about these rare earth elements and critical resources. Some say whoever controls these resources controls the future. How true is that, and why should we pay attention to this?
Well, basically, I think on the critical minerals, now the focus is really kind of shifting to lithium, not so much rare earths. China already controls much of rare earth, and that control is quite dominant. That's not looking likely to be reversed at all. Lithium is where there is quite a bit of competition, whether it's in Latin America or in Africa, as Chinese firms are actively going into these countries to develop production, given the need for the country's miners as well as battery makers, as well as car makers, for that critical mineral for their products.
Right. Now, Victoria, we want to talk about the key components in Taiwan semiconductor production and TSMC in particular, which is one of the world's most valuable semiconductor companies. How important is TSMC to Taiwan and the rest of the world at this point?
Yes, we know that TSMC, the company alone, accounts for 15% of Taiwan's GDP. And it's not just important to Taiwan, but also to the rest of the world, because it supplies more than 60% of the chips that is needed by the world. And also it manufactures more than 90% of the most advanced chips in the world. And these chips are used in a variety of products, including mobile phones and automobiles, as well as fighter jets. So if there is a disruption in the production, it's going to have some profound impact on the global supply chain. And it's estimated that the loss of TSMC could actually cost the world economy more than $1 trillion. So that is why observers are saying that the U.S. this is going to push the U.S. to actually protect Taiwan from any possible attack from China. And also other countries that are going to be affected are also going to come to Taiwan's defense.
So let's bring you in here. I mean, these resources, they are finite after all. So there is constant competition. I'm wondering, what are some of the most contentious issues today when it comes to countries, trying to fight for these resources?
Now, I would say one of the most contentious issues would be the fact that there's environmental degradation. It's through the extracting and the processing of rare elements. And a study actually found that mining 1 ton of rare elements results in around 2,000 tons of toxic waste. And all this is made worse due to competition, intense competition among several countries. And already countries are looking to access untapped deposits in areas like Africa as well as Central Asia. So for Charles, I need to ask you, because China has already tapped into Africa for its resources. Now there's also a scramble by the US, by the European Union. With weak regulations, how is Africa managing this?
Well, I think Africa obviously has to be concerned about the environmental impact of these activities. But nevertheless, Chinese collaboration has allowed them, to develop various aspects of the industry as well as quite a bit of infrastructure. So there are pluses and minuses in this relationship, and overall, they remain, active in terms of working with China, and they walk a balance, obviously, but that attitude remains an open one, I think, towards Chinese investments.
Victoria, geopolitical tensions have prompted TSMC to expand its overseas investments, as what we've seen. How is that going to make Taiwan lose its competitive edge, at all, if at all?
Well, TSMC has already committed in making investment in Japan, the U.S., as well as Germany. And this is raising concerns that TSMC may be moving its core production to overseas. But TSMC officials are denying such speculation, saying that they are going to continue to keep 80 to 90% of the production in Taiwan. And most importantly, they're going to keep the research and development base in Taiwan. But analysts are arguing that with the geopolitical tensions rising in the region, there is the possibility that it's going to speed up TSMC's expansion overseas, and that could actually accelerate the possibility that the company is going to move its core technology overseas.
Right. Now, I just want to highlight a report saying that Malaysia has tasked its technology minister to visit China at the end of April to seek out a Chinese company to invest in a rare earth refinery in Malaysia. Now, the team behind CNA's documentary Power Scramble visited one such site in Negeri Sembilan. Let's take a look.
Palm oil plantations are everywhere in Kuala Lumpur. They provide jobs and drive the economy. Quiet and sleepy, everything is serene.
Hi Damien, nice to meet you.
Hi Karthik.
Yet, something sinister lurks.
Karthik, this is the main entrance to the illegal site. You can see that it has been sealed off.
I see the tape, but what does it say?
In English, it basically means Land and Mining Authority. And then below here, it says that do not enter, investigation in progress.
All right, so obviously we can't go in, but I really want to take a peek inside. Okay, so it looks like there's a bunch of pipes, and I know that's used to get rare earth out of the ground, right?
That's right. In a legal operation, they may have proper pipes, but these pipes, the quality of the pipes are very questionable. We don't know whether these pipes are actually manufactured for such an operation. There are high risk of toxic acid that they need for the operation, leaking into the ground.
Right, there's some cheap
They would not go for high quality products because this is a sort of a hit and run operation. They come here, they extract as much as possible. The minute they get a sniff of authority or they suspect that action will be taken, they are gone. Now, look at the size of the gate. It's so wide. This actually shows the size of their operation, and this accommodates huge lorries, vehicles to go in and out.
Now, didn't the villagers here from the kampong notice these large vehicles going in and out?
Yes, lorries going in and out, even at night, have raised suspicion, and the authorities investigated and found out that this is actually an illegal mine, and this is the entrance going through private land.
Right, so is there more?
This is the tip of the iceberg. There's a huge land where the operation really takes place. It extends right into the state land. Let's go.
Beyond its main gate, the mine extends several kilometers inside. It's surrounded by palm oil plantations in this village of a few hundred people. So far, no illnesses have been reported.
So, Charles, we know that Malaysia, they're appealing to China for rare earth processing technology in a bid to unlock billions worth of the mineral deposits in their country that are crucial to all these high-tech applications. But how does that relate? How does that relate to resource nationalism, and how big a risk is it?
Well, resource nationalism, comes into play when there are resources that the country is wanting to ensure to benefit from economically. So, Malaysia's, interest in this perhaps mirrors what was happening in Indonesia in terms of the nickel industry, which has become one of the largest exporters in the world with a lot of Chinese investments, which have developed industrial complexes and really advanced that industry. So for the country's perspective, there's a development benefit to that. So, in terms of resources, whether it's nickel or rare earths, there are benefits to the country economically, and there are development angles that the government is perhaps considering. So following that line, I think the policy makes, of course, have to address some of the issues that the industry often raises, but also at the same time ensuring that the country gets the benefit that it's seeking from developing those industries.
Now, Sihui, we know that China controls a large chunk of the rare earth supply, which gives them a certain amount of leverage over other countries. But this has also led to concerns about China using its rare earth supply to perhaps influence other countries in negotiations and all of that. Have we seen examples of that?
As you've said, China is king. It dominates the market, supplying 80% of rare earth elements. And in fact, at one point in 2005, it dominated with 98% of global production. So definitely there are concerns over influence on other countries, and that's especially when there are diplomatic tensions. So we've seen that during South China Sea disputes as well as trade negotiations with the US.
All right. And Victoria, we have seen, such disputes, maritime disputes, East China Sea, South China Sea, part of the reason vying for these, precious elements. Will China's reliance on Taiwanese chips, you think, prevent a war or cause one?
Well, of course, there's that possibility that China may refrain from attacking Taiwan because of TSMC. In fact, Morris Zhang, who is the TSMC founder, he has said in a recent interview, and I quote, that he said, if the person's priority is economic well-being, I think they will refrain from attacking, unquote. And here he was referring to Chinese President Xi Jinping. But remember, China is only accounts for 10% of TSMC's revenue. And also China is making its own chips. In fact, it's targeting 70% self-sufficiency by 2025. And so in terms of reliance on TSMC, it's not as high as the U.S. And of course, there's also the political dynamics. If Taiwan decides to push ahead with its independence path, and that China would have no choice but to take military actions against Taiwan, regardless of TSMC.
Charles, as more nations they adopt the use of electric vehicles, especially with China holding a significant share of around 75% of EV batteries, and it seems the race to acquire more rare earth elements becomes stronger. Will there ever be a real possibility that countries can ever reduce their dependence and their reliance on China?
I think that's going to be a very difficult wall to climb. In the new economy, there's going to be a lot of reliance on electric vehicles. But as you know, a main pillar of that economy is also lithium ion batteries, which also, is used to store power when it comes to renewable power generation. So the world is headed in that direction in a very fast pace, and so is China. It's a key piece of that advancement. For the rest of the world, it's going to be very difficult to stop that from happening due to environmental needs, as well as the need for the countries in the world to reduce emissions. I think it would be very difficult to turn that around. The real question, I think, for most governments are there ways for them to advance technologically so to reduce some of that reliance? But once again, that is a very, very difficult task.
That's fascinating, how these elements and critical resources are so important to our everything from our phones to EVs to solar panels. I think we've covered quite a fair bit here. Thank you so very much, Sihui, Victoria, and Charles, for discussing all of this with us.